Casey the Beef Creek, and it's become old hat by now. I'm just nailing that intro every time. But you were giving me some pointers on this on StreamYard. I mean, I've only been doing it for 2 years, and you're asking me, "Do you know about this button?" I'm like, I don't know. I know two buttons. That's all I got.
Yeah, it's funny because I've been doing chopping beef through the same platform as well, and I didn't know. Literally, just the other day, I was just hitting buttons randomly, and I was like, "What's this do?" And it's literally like, if you just you could do it for anything. You could hit the number 9, and it'll start stuff for you. So the things you learn.
Don't know what it'll start, but it'll start stuff for you.
Yeah,
all
absolutely.
Right. Well, you know, we all got to learn different ways, and I will delve into those things. Hey, Beef, I named the show Starbucks for a reason. Last night, well, let me back up a little bit. Parker went to a school with like 7 kids in his class for the first six pre-K, K, and the first 6 grades. Same kids all the way through. You know, one would switch out, one here, one there. Well, the school kept the 6th grade just for them, for that class, because the owner liked them so much. And then, you know, they had to find their own way. It didn't go up any higher. So they all spread out. And last night, it was like a reunion of Saved by the Bell or something. But these kids that I last saw in the 6th grade were meeting up at Starbucks. Now, they're all 15, 16 years old now, right? So I thought Starbucks, okay. Weird. It was not where I would have met when I was 15 or 16, like a parking lot with some beer and whatnot, but, you know, hey, whatever. So we got to see a picture of these kids who we knew throughout their lives and kind of lost touch. Most of them, one of them is still in Parker's class at his high school now, but 4 out of the 6 main characters were there. And we were talking about your son Ryan was on before we hit live. Your son Ryan was on. And I'm saying, I told you, you're going to miss these days, right? It's, you know, he's crawling all over you. He's screaming and yelling, making faces at me, whatever. But you are going to miss these days because I think I saw Parker for like 38 seconds yesterday. I made a joke. He didn't appreciate it. And that was into that. So enjoy those times with Ryan is what they say. And they grow up fast because, you know, it seems like just a couple of weeks ago, we were talking about Parker in the YMCA league. Now he's a sophomore, hopping in cars, going to Starbucks. By the way, in my life, I've been to 0 Starbucks. He's been to more than I have. But that's my lesson for tonight.
Well, I don't mean to take this completely off the rails, but that's tend to be what I do. But you just brought me down a trip down memory lane. We actually did, because especially with Nelson in the comment section, which I'm sure he'll put up here in a second, or you'll put up here in a second. But in high school, we didn't. In junior year, when people started getting their licenses, you get your license a little later in New Jersey than everybody else in the normal world. We would meet at Taco Bell. I know that probably surprises you, but we would go get like a 69-cent taco, and then we would loiter in the Taco Bell parking lot. There was probably like, I don't know, 15, 20 of us that would do it. The ladies, because I went to an all-boys high school, so the ladies from the all-girls school would meet up with us. It was awesome. Such losers.
That is why Nelson Tacos was in the tweet, because I didn't want it to be chips. I thought, what could it be? And I thought of Casey and Taco Bell. Literally, that's why it was about tacos. Kevron checks in and says, "Good evening, y'all. The Clemson football recruiting is rolling, and it's blistering hot in South Carolina." Kevron, last Friday night at 7:30 p.m., outside of my house, it was 98.6 degrees. Inside the garage, it was 105. So not quite the humidity of Charleston. I know he's not in Charleston, but not quite the humidity.
Orangeburg.
Yeah, of South Carolina, but it's still pretty warm. And Beef, I did this on purpose, not on purpose for him because it was a last minute thing, but for you and all the people listening. I wanted to see how many people tune in for just me and you. Not many. But we have a special guest to join us, and I would like to thank Jason Priester of allclemson.com, because
this guy,
I gave him at least 3 minutes and 19 seconds of notice. And this dude here is on screens more than the Kardashians. He is on 7 days a week. Jason Priester, welcome in. AllClemson.com. Thanks, JP, for joining us.
I'm here for the tacos.
One more thing before we get going too. The guy just had a fantastic question and answer show. You've been doing a lot of those. So I definitely watch, if I don't catch it live, I catch the replay. So definitely, if you're watching out there, whenever JP puts it up saying we're going live tonight at 7 or whatever time you do it, definitely watch it because it's informative. That's where I get my information.
I didn't even know there was a show, JP, till Casey held up his phone and I could hear you talking. So, I mean, I've seen you on other shows, obviously, but I didn't know you had your own.
I don't. It's something I kept getting asked about doing it from fans, and I just took a shot on it one day, and I just went live on my phone one day, and I kind of been doing it every few days since.
You figured out the comments section now too, so you're rolling.
Yeah, I have to pull up the laptop, man, in the background so I can see the comments because I still can't get them to come up on my phone for whatever reason. It tells me who's watching, but I don't see the comments.
All right, Houston Burnett checks in, says Starbucks is where he took the ladies.
In Barnes and Noble. In the Barnes and Noble.
Ours was McDonald's. Okay, ours was McDonald's, and it said JPZ. Well, we're going to talk baseball coach and recruiting, and I thought Casey and I can sit here and stammer for an hour, or we can bring on somebody who knows what the hell they're talking about. So we decided to bring on somebody who knows what the hell they're talking about. So let's talk baseball coach first, JP, and let's get that out of the way. Eric Bakich from Michigan. Tomorrow should be the official announcement. Lots of you and I have gone back and forth on the text machine about this coach and that coach and positives and negatives and contract details and all that kind of stuff. For my money, he's probably was only second to Link Jarrett, and we know that's not going to happen because Link is looking at real estate in Tallahassee. As soon as his time in Omaha is up, whether that's as a champion or some other place in there, I think Bakich was about the second best coach they could have got. Maybe Godwin from East Carolina. What's your just kind of general feel about this hire for Clemson?
I love this hire. I think he's done nothing but. I know people look at his overall record and the numbers aren't eye-popping, but I think he takes programs and turns them around in quick fashion. What he did at Maryland was remarkable. You know, they were pretty bad when he took over, and when he left 3 years later, they were in pretty good shape. They were recruiting at an unprecedented level, came close to winning I can't remember how many games they won, but 35, 37, something. I can't remember. His last season there before he got hired over to Michigan. Took Michigan to the College World Series for the first time in forever. One win away from a national title in 2019. He's a national coach of the year. He's bringing his top lieutenant with him, who's been a national assistant of the year. I just think Graham Neff knocked this one out the park. I was kind of pulling for him, to get hired the last time Clemson was in the market for a new coach. I loved the Monty Lee hire at the time. Don't get me wrong, but there was a lot of talk about Eric Bakich and Clemson at that time when they were hiring Monty Lee, and I was kind of pulling for him then, and I'm glad it worked out this time because there was a couple of days there it looked like they might end up going in a different direction, but in the end, they got it all worked out.
Casey, your thoughts?
Yeah, man, I think it's fantastic, and the first thing that I've heard detractors say after this thing became somewhat complete is his record overall. But if you look at what he had when he got to Maryland, it was a dumpster fire. They were always a joke in the ACC, and they began as a joke in the Big Ten as well. But even after he left, he had 2 classes, I guess, beyond that one went down to South Carolina and won a regional. So, he builds programs, and if we're being honest with ourselves, we're not necessarily where they where either Michigan or Maryland were, but the cupboard's not empty, and he's going to be able to come in here and still build. I absolutely agree. I think this was the grand slam. I wanted Link Jarrett. I wanted Jim Penders to be a candidate, even though he has no ties to the Southeast whatsoever. But I think this is the best. That's why I have my swanky Wolverine shirt today on, because we got our own little Wolverine that coming home.
Dale Hudgens says grand slam for baseball hire. Maybe a 3-run homer for me. I think Link Jarrett would have been the grand slam, but I think Clemson's in pretty good shape. I put up a quote the other day, or I sent it to Casey. He basically said, it was quoting him and Casey Woody. He said, "We don't have time for. I don't have any time. I don't have patience. I don't have time for that bleep." So that was something Clemson fans, or at least myself, like to hear. Who are the other coaches under consideration, JP? More than just rumored. If you know anything and can share anything about other coaches.
I think Lincoln Jarrett was under consideration, although I think it was, it didn't take long to realize that was not going to happen. And I think Clemson had at least some informal discussions with Godwin at ECU. Other than that,
nobody real serious.
Yeah, I think those were the top 3 guys, and I don't think they could have went wrong with any of the 3. To be honest, I mean, I'd have been happy with any of the 3.
Great.
Those were the 3 guys that I heard the most. I think they did end up at least informally talking to Godwin maybe one day this week when talks with Backett should have stand still there for a day or 2, but in the end, he came back and they got it worked out.
Seems like to me, I'm sorry, Case. It just seems like to me that Godwin is made for East Carolina. He was born right there. He went to school there. He has obviously a lot of emotion for that team. Money talks obviously most times, but not always. Seems like he was, just made for that team. And it seems like a good marriage. They love him and he loves them. And, I guess they could have offered him a boatload of money, but didn't work out that way. And I'm okay. I'm sorry, Casey, I cut you off.
No, I just had a question. JP, you may or may not know this, but has Backett even been on campus? Did they have him down, or did they?
I do believe he has already been on campus. Yes, do not hold me to that, but I'm pretty sure he was on campus one day last week at least.
And he's bringing
not like football where there's flight aware trackers. I didn't know if there was any planes. Go ahead, Mark. Sorry.
I was just going to
Don't hold me to that, but I want to say that I was told he was on campus one day last week. There's a lot you can get done on Zoom and stuff these days. So, I mean, it wouldn't shock me to find out that he wasn't. But he'll be here tomorrow for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. And he's bringing what I read today, an assistant, and he's going to keep one of the staffers at Clemson, and he's already got another one hired that hasn't been named yet. Is that what I read on your site?
Yeah, he's bringing his top assistant, Nick. Is it Nick Schnabel? Is that how you say his name? Yeah, he's bringing him with him. He's been with him his entire tenure at Michigan, if I'm not mistaken. He was the guy I was talking about that was a National Assistant of the Year in 2019. I'm assuming he's going to be the recruiting coordinator, hitting coach. That's what he did at Michigan, and he's got a reputation for being a very good recruiter. So hopefully he brings that down here to the Southeast.
It'll be nice. I know they need a pitching coach. I commented to Casey without realizing that he was going to be our coach that they made it to the tournament with a 7 ERA on the pitching staff. So obviously the hitting coach did wonders if he can make it to the tournament, giving up 7 runs a game. So not sure what that says about the Big Ten, but we'll figure it out. I think all 3 of us are happy about the hire. As you said, JP, any of those 3 coaches would have been happy. Before we move on to football recruiting, you got a take on the World Series and who comes out as the champion, JP?
I'll throw this in there too, the name I've been hearing for pitching coach John Pawlowski.
Yeah.
So we'll see if that plays out. Nothing official on that, just the name I've been hearing. But as far as the College World Series goes, it's hard for me to say this, and I can't believe I'm about to say it. I wouldn't mind seeing Notre Dame win it. And I cannot believe I just said that. I think I just threw up my mouth a little bit.
A little bit.
I I feel you, man. I think I don't know if it was what Tennessee did or what Notre Dame was doing, but man, oh man, I found myself pulling hard for them on Sunday, and I'm like, what the heck am I doing? Especially as an Irish Catholic from the Northeast, where everyone knows somebody who went to Notre Dame, was sister's cousin, uncle. It's like my most hated team, I think, outside of South Carolina. And man, I'm with you, especially with the 4/6 SEC teams that are in this thing. With Texas and Oklahoma going, their SEC fans are already claiming them. So yeah, I think I'm pulling for Notre Dame too. I hate it.
To me, that's part of it.
Edit this out.
Teams, and I think you touched on it right there. The other part of it for me was just, what they did to Tennessee, and how Tennessee played in that super regional, man. Some of the antics they pulled off. I don't know. That Notre Dame team just kind of grew on me, and I'm a big fan of Bertram. Man, phenomenal pitcher.
All right. Yeah, I am pulling for anybody not named Texas because I'll be hearing it for the next 20. I'm still hearing about 2005, right? All that ridiculousness. But man, those boys can mash the ball. That's for sure. Crazy over at UT. Okay. And you mentioned John Pawlowski. I was telling Casey, when you see his bio and you find out how old he is, he and I were there together at Clemson. And I remember him as a quiet kid, right? That was 612 years ago. He was a quiet kid, and it's just incredible to think he's turned out to be a major leaguer, a college head coach, and now maybe back at Clemson as an assistant head coach. So congratulations, and I hope it works out. I hope it works out for him. All right, JP, people are here to talk about football recruiting. Let's start at the most recent commit and work backwards. We don't have to go through everybody, so you can get 5 or 10 minutes of sleep tonight. Vic Burley. Now, this one has the seal of approval of almost all Clemson fans. Nelson's getting a little picky. He doesn't like his 4 stars to be in the 200 and 300 ranges overall. But I think everybody agrees Vic Burley's a player. What is Clemson getting in Clemson's most recent commit, Vic Burley?
Well, I don't think Nelson might not have to worry about them 4 stars for long. He might have a 5th for us all said and done.
Oh, there you go.
I don't know. Just listening to Will Fong talk today on that announcement, he made it sound like he might be getting close. So we'll see how that plays out. But I think Clemson's getting an elite level interior defensive lineman that will be capable of coming in and contributing immediately. He can get after the passer. High football IQ, extremely powerful, great first step, great instincts, uses his hands well, uses his hands well with his hand placement stuff. Cornerstone of the class right now, if you ask me. We all know how much Clemson's losing along that defensive front after this season, and I think this was one of the guys that they needed to hit on, and they did, and it cannot be overstated how important it was to go into Georgia, pick out one of their top talents, and beat them out for that guy in the process.
Second-ranked player in Georgia, correct?
If I'm not mistaken, yeah. Number 2.
And also on the 5-star thing, I looked last night on 247. He's ranked 40th overall, and the 5 stars end at 37. So whether he gets that 5th star or not, he's right there. I mean, we're talking tiny bit.
Yeah, I don't pay a whole lot of attention to stars anyways, but I just thought it was noteworthy. It was interesting the way Wilfon talked about that thing today, and Burley, you talking about getting to 300 pounds there. Yeah, I agree, and I think he can do it. He's filled out on the bottom half. He's still got some room on that top half of that frame, but he can add some bulk. So I think he'll be up towards 300 pounds, and I think he's going to be a monster on the interior of that defensive line.
I love it. I think it's fantastic, and you know how I'll let JP do the hand placement stuff, and I'll wait for a cornerback to tell you about their hip swivel. But that's my MO. But I love how Notre Dame had the Freeman factor. Last year, I'm calling it the Eason effect for the interior defense or the defensive line. I think it's having Nick Eason, especially an extended family member of the Burley family. I just think he's so good and his pedigree is there. I think we talked about it the last time we had you, JP. He's just a good guy too. I mean, I was in school with him, so he's just a really nice guy, and I know he can relate to these kids.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with all that. I think he relates to these kids in a big way. He's extremely connected, plugged in, whatever you want to call it. No knock on Ty Bates, but I think Clemson got an upgrade, no doubt, in Nick Eason.
Well, Casey, I used to give you a hard time about your connections to all the coaches, Nick Eason and Brandon Streeter. Now I've got he's not officially hired, but I've got the John Pawlowski, the other JP, as I like to call him, connection. I mean, I think I just walked by him on campus one day.
But I was going to say the last time I talked to Streeter and Nick Eason was probably in 2003 and 1999, respectively. So they know me. I mean, definitely if I walked up to them, but yeah, it's been a long time. We're not buddies.
It's been a while. David Bassett says, do y'all think the recent defensive commits is due to the Eason hire? JP?
I actually got asked about 2 hours ago, did I think Clemson would land Vic Burley without it, having hired Nick Eason? And, I had to think about that for a minute because I'm not 100% sure. It's hard to say. I know that Burley said today that it was Clemson from the beginning. He always knew it was going to be Clemson, but, I don't know. Todd Bates' track record of landing defensive tackles in his short tenure, it wasn't like it was stellar. I mean, he missed on some guys. Clemson missed on multiple guys while he was here. I think Eason is absolutely playing a pivotal role with some of these defensive linemen, no doubt about it.
Okay, that's good news. And Anthony Weeks, thanks for checking in, Anthony. Clemson will get another commit on Saturday. I think we all think maybe that's true, though. Casey's looking like he's not so sure.
No. Woods is July. I'm sorry. Yes. Go ahead.
we'll get to him. JP, Saturday looking good for Clemson, correct?
Absolutely. Yeah, I've got D Creighton. I got D Creighton. There it is. With me. Yeah, I've got D Creighton projected to Clemson. Second linebacker taking this class along with Jamal Anderson. And I think Clemson will probably be done at linebacker after Saturday. They'll be full up. And I think this is another good get. It continues the trend of taking, faster, more athletic linebackers. He chose to come back to Clemson last weekend rather than go on a scheduled visit to Auburn. To me, that kind of speaks volumes, that kind of tells, like I like to say, read between those tea leaves.
Yep.
Between the lines, however you want to phrase it. But
both.
I would guess he probably came back to campus wanting to tell the coaching staff of his decision in person. And yeah, I fully expect Creighton to be a member of the class on Saturday.
All right, before we get to Dale Hudgens' questions, you brought his name up. Let's talk about Jamal Anderson, of course, the son of the NFL running back Jamal Anderson. Apparently, and this is something you don't hear a lot, that came down to Clemson and maybe Utah, which is, sounds strange, but obviously his dad went to Utah, so he was a legacy there. Your take on Jamal Anderson?
Oh, I'm extremely high on Jamal Anderson. I think he is very versatile. Depending on, what they do with him weight-wise, you could probably plug him in at the Sam, put a little bit more weight on him. You can move him inside. It'd probably we'll just have to wait and see what they decide to do with him from that aspect. But he's already showing strong cover skills in high school. Looks solid in pass coverage, has no problem playing the run, physical. Another guy that's faster, more athletic. You're starting to notice a trend there at linebacker. High football IQ. I think he's one of the best linebackers in this class.
All right. Good news. Casey, you got anything on Jamal Anderson?
I love having the dirty bird in the house. We're going to get Daddy there. I'm sure the kid's going to do something with, after he's done.
Okay, Dale Hudgens brought it up without saying it. Clemson lost a recruit, and all this good news, something that we've talked about before on this show, and I know JP been asked about it 6,427 times. Finally happened last night. Nathaniel Joseph decommits. It's something Clemson needed, a slot receiver. And Dale doesn't talk about a slot receiver, but I assume that's what he means. What wide receiver will Clemson go after now?
Yeah, I already told Dale this, man. I don't know who Clemson's going after now. Yeah, let me work on it a little bit, and I'll let you know. No, in all seriousness, we'll see which way we'll see which way they go. Not Dale's one of my buddies, man. I like Dale's good.
He thought different show. Maybe you have a different answer. Maybe you're holding out on him.
He's from up there in the mountains, man. You sometimes you got to tell him 2 or 3 times. Just kidding, Dale. Just kidding, man. I wouldn't mind living up there in the mountains myself.
Edward Shumpert wants win-loss predictions. It's too early for me. I don't know about you guys. We'll have to see about that.
That's coming, Edward. That's coming in a couple weeks.
Yeah, and check out rubbingtherock.com and allclemson.com. I'm sure both of them will have plenty of predictions coming up. What kind of speed does Anderson have? I think you've answered that one. You guys do an awesome job. Let's leave this one up for the show. Really enjoy the show. JP keeps me updated always. Do we compare Barrett Carter to Dorian O'Daniel? That's definitely a JP question.
Let me start this off by saying I am not the expert talent evaluator. But as much as I love Dorian O'Daniel, I think Barrett Carter's ceiling is much higher. I think he's more versatile. I think there's a lot of things you can do with Barrett Carter in this defense. And I think you're going to see Wes Goodman use him in a number of different ways. I think similar to the way Brent Venables used Isaiah Simmons. So as much as I love DOD, I think Barrett Carter's got the sky's the limit for that kid. I think he's got NFL potential. And I know Dorian O'Daniel plays in there, or I did play in the NFL. I'm not sure if he's still there, but I think Barrett Carter's got NFL staying power potential. Let's put it that way. On the field potential.
Nice. And Dale Hudgens goes with the what has become the universal JP Priester.
We're going to make this famous somehow, some way.
We might have another one of them coming in the next few days. We'll see.
We'll see. Okay. And Dale Hudgens, I'm not sure if he's talking about you or himself, JP, but somebody's a hillbilly.
He's talking about himself, I think. Living up there.
He did say he was
in Rutherfordton, North Carolina.
You did say he was from the mountains, so I think he's talking about himself. Houston Burnett says fall is flip season. I think we might something at the wide receiver then. That'll be interesting. Give us something to look forward to. A new name here, Myron Brown. Are we going to go after another quarterback, JP?
Nah, not in this class. Clemson's done in this class at quarterback. It's Vicina, and that's it. They'll move on. Right now, the next top 2 targets in the next class right now, Jaden Davis, DJ Lagway. We'll see. We'll see what happens in the next class. A little too early to start penciling in those guys somewhere, but just one for 2023.
I saw Lagway today on Twitter. He had some uniform on. I got nervous for a second. I said, did he commit? Did he verbally commit already? But then I remembered that they're kids and they like to do those edits and whatnot.
Casey, I was just going to say, this may be a question for you. How can one join y'all on Facebook conversations face-wise? So
you don't want to be on with this face.
There's not room for 2 faces with Casey on there, so we don't do that. We don't do the kind of. We've done a couple Twitter Spaces, but obviously those aren't faces on Spaces. Hey, that rhymes. We don't handle it that way, Edward. We just do it this way. Who knows what the future holds, though? We always try new and different things, meeting new people. We'll see how it works out. He says it is him. He is talking about him. He's the hillbilly.
Edward, I'll let you jump on with one of my Facebook Lives one day.
Yeah, if we knew how to do it,
we got that capability. We got that capability. We got that capability. I got that capability on a very informal, Facebook Live deal. This is a whole different deal here.
Well, there it is. You don't want to jump on with us.
But
if you want to jump on, you want to jump on with JP Priester. That's for sure, not us. Hey, JP, Clemson got a offensive lineman last week out of Austin, Texas. Ian Reed looks like he's 6'6", 290 out of Vandergrift. So now makes three Austin, Texas players that will be on the team next year. Klubnik, Ian Reed. Like I said, I meant when I said next year, I meant 2023, and of course Andrew Makuba. Three Austin players, three different high schools. Tigers are going after this Texas talent these days.
Yeah, I'm not sure they're done either. Harris Sewell's out of Texas, and I think Clemson's in solid shape with him right now. I think he's got another visit or two to take. Then probably going to be making a decision shortly after that. Let's see if he takes those visits. I've seen some projections to Clemson on him. I'm not ready to go that far just yet, but I think Clemson's in solid shape with him. He's another guy out of Texas. I can't remember his name. He might not be out of Austin, but another Texas guy. But Clemson's kind of establishing a little mini pipeline into that state here in the last couple classes.
He is from Odessa Permian, which is about as far away from Austin as you can get. It's about 600 miles. I've driven there. My brother used to live there, along a long, lonesome highway. But that is, I don't know if you guys remember this. I'm older than both of you. That is the OG for Friday Night Lights, the book and the movie. That is the school. And they've fallen on some hard times in the last few years, or harder times. But they take their football seriously out there in Odessa. And the good thing about Odessa is they're not near University of Texas. They're not near anything except New Mexico. They're not near Texas A&M. Not saying he won't end up at one of those schools or another Texas school, but I mean, it's not like Cade Klubnik could throw a bomb from his high school stadium and hit Texas's stadium. So I would think they have just as good a shot as any at him. And I did see that projection to Clemson, and I kind of went, a little early. And Texas A&M is,
I think he's still got a visit to Texas too scheduled. So
yeah,
got to let some of those things play out.
I thought it was interesting that he has 5 schools, top 5, and Texas, Oklahoma, Texas A&M, Clemson. So, I mean, you got all the local schools, and Clemson's hanging around those boys, so it's kind of nice.
Interesting. Jared Clark, Will Streeter be the main play caller this year, or will he have help from the passing game coordinator? JP?
Yeah, I think Brandon Streeter is going to be your primary play caller. Not to say that you won't see some of Kyle Richardson's fingerprints on the offense. I think he'll be, or I hope we do anyways. He's got that air raid background. I think Clemson's offense has gotten a little stale in the last 2 or 3 years. It can use some tweaks here and there. But I think we'll see some of Kyle Richardson's footprints on the offense, no doubt about it. I'm not going as far as saying he's going to be calling the plays or anything. I mean, I'm sure he'll have input from time to time, but I think Brandon Streeter is your primary play caller.
All right.
Yeah, and Streeter was a play caller at Richmond and Liberty, and he does have the background. He doesn't have the D1 background, but he's also a quarterback. I mean, he's got the ability to do it. We'll see if he can.
And Anthony,
I'm looking forward to that.
Anthony Weeks wants to know. Well, I think we all, before we get to Anthony's question, I think we all think they need some different looks on offense. Some more imagination would be. Sometimes that's overblown. If the players make the plays, if Will Shipley doesn't drop the passes, they look a lot better. But maybe it was just the optics of last year, but it just looked unimaginative at times. And of course, they didn't have the personnel to do what they wanted to do either. That also makes a difference.
I think it goes beyond last season. I think it's stretched out the past 2-3 seasons. I think teams just started picking up with Tony Elliott, and I thought it got a little more stale with each passing season.
I would agree with you. Anthony Weeks wants to know, will Gunn be starting this year?
Robert Gunn's certainly capable of, kicking long field goals. We saw the video on Twitter the other day, 60-yard bomb, but that was in the indoor facility. Coming off ACL, you got BT Potter coming back. That's your man right there.
BT.
Yeah, BT. Maybe you see something like Gunn does kickoffs like BT did, but if BT's so valuable at that, you probably don't want to take him off that.
I don't want to take
coming off the ACL. I mean, it wouldn't shock me at all to see Gunn redshirt. Not saying he will. I'm just saying it wouldn't surprise me.
Okay, Edward Shumper wants the tight ends more involved. I think that's something we can all get behind. Tight end involvement down the middle of the field. Yep. Before I even read the comment, I was reading your mind there, Dale.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
according to JP, that's a short book. Um, do you guys think we ever get back to the super hurry up like we had with Morris, JP?
Probably not. Not quite that fast. I know Brandon Streeter used the word tempo a lot this spring, and when asked to go, you know, to talk specifically about what he meant, he was talking about getting up on the line of scrimmage quicker, not necessarily, you know, all gas no brakes, to use a South Carolina phrase there. Not necessarily wide open all the time, but I do think they want to go faster, no doubt. We could see it last year. They wanted to push tempo, but you got to pick up first downs if you want to push tempo. If you can't pick up first downs, it's not doing you any good. But yeah, I think Clemson's going to push it more, but I don't think you see them going back to what they did under Morris. I think some of that, you know, obviously that's Morris's, you know, that's his background. That's what he does. But I don't think Clemson necessarily needs to go back to that. They've got more talent now. They don't need that to wear opposing defenses down. They've got enough talent on the offensive side of the ball to beat teams straight up.
Myron Brown, who do y'all think would be Clemson's biggest opponent this year? I'll start out with this one, Notre Dame.
Notre Dame. Maybe NC State a close second.
I was going to say NC State, I think, because in the grand scheme of things, Notre Dame doesn't matter. But I'm actually writing an article on Rubbing the Rock about the top games 12-1. So it's coming.
Right. And speaking of writing, we have to say this, and I don't say it enough. JP Priester, allclemson.com. Check out his stuff. If you read Rubbing the Rock, I include his tweets and information in there every chance I have an opportunity to do so. Great information. Again, allclemson.com. Fantastic work. And you're not going to find a guy who works harder than JP Priester. Jared Clark, way too much tight end talent not to use it. Brenningstool is the next door. I love that guy, JP. What do you think about that?
I love that guy too, man. I think he's got an extreme. I say extremely high ceiling a lot, but and when I say it, I mean it. I've been high on Brenningstool from the outset. I think he was one of the top tight ends in his recruiting class. I just think he needed a year to kind of acclimate, put on a little bit of weight, and we started seeing flashes of what he could do towards the end of last season. And while I love what Davis Allen brings to the table, I think Brenningstool is a little more dynamic, a little more of a matchup problem in the passing game. He's going to be hard to keep off the field. I think we'll see a lot of both of those guys this season.
One thing that I see with Brenningstool is that he reminds me of Jordan Leggett in the way that he runs routes. And we only saw it in spurts last year. But, yeah, I'm excited for him, too. What a big frame, big target. If DJ can't hit Jake Brenningstool, we're in trouble.
Edward Shumpet says, I think the capability to run slow and go fast at any moment is what we need to do. I don't think anybody disagree with that necessarily. Nelson Wilhite, Miami would be tough too. They beat Pitt last year once they started playing Tyler Van Dyke. Really good quarterback at Miami. So they may be, with a better coaching staff, which theoretically they have this season, they may be tough. What do you think of Miami this year, JP?
I would say do not sleep on that team. I think they've got the capability of making some noise, especially in the Coastal. I wouldn't sleep on Miami. I think that's a solid football team. I'm interested to see what Mario Cristobal does there in his first season.
All right. Casey, your take on Miami?
Yeah, I think they arguably have the top two quarterback in the league, and he only played half the games last year and lit it up. So maybe with the good coaching staff, and, it's the best coaching staff money could buy down there in Coral Gables. So we'll see. They always have talent. Let's see if they can put it together. Watch out.
Kind words from Edward Shumpet. Appreciate you, Edward.
Thank you, Edward.
Check us out next week or whenever we decide to get back
on.
The
next time JP's on.
Yeah, next time JP's available. Byron Brown, we need more night games this year in Death Valley. Are there any night games? We don't know yet, right? We know the first three.
And two of them are night games.
Yeah, I think there's already two of them night, if I'm not mistaken.
I think
my memory's terrible, man.
Well, only Furman is during the day, and that's a 4:00 start, I believe, and then the other one is 7:30. Louisiana Tech, I think, is 7:30.
Yeah, I know one of them's later.
4:00 in the afternoon in Clemson in September. Ooh, doggies! I
just
thought my garage was hot.
There's going to be some drunk people there.
Okay, another guy that kicked off this wave of recruiting is a legacy, and I'm not sure how you first Avion Terrell. Of course, AJ Terrell's little brother started this kind of wave of commitments recently. JP, what do you know about Mr. Terrell?
Terrell's kind of been tearing it up on the camp circuit here last month or so. However long he's been working out at camps. I've seen a lot of stuff on Twitter. One of the defensive MVPs at one of the rival camps a couple of weeks ago. He was the first offer in this class. He was offered a long time ago, obviously, as a due to his relation to AJ Terrell being his younger brother and all that good stuff. But yeah, this is a kid that the recruiting service are kind of torn on. You look at one, they got him a much higher rank than the other. I can't remember what the exact discrepancy is, but I'm kind of in the middle on Terrell. I think he's a solid addition with some coaching by Mike Reed. I think he'll be just fine on the back end of this Clemson defense. Mike Reed doesn't tend to recruit guys that can't play, and he's pretty good at evaluating talent, and I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt every time.
All right.
I like the legacy aspect of it. I think it's great.
Only going to ask you about a couple more, JP, and we're going to let you get off of here and drink a cold beer or cut the grass or whatever you need to do besides talking with us. I did want to ask you.
I got to go on the road tomorrow.
Casey, JP's the only man I know went on vacation for his anniversary and didn't sleep, he said. Didn't get any sleep that weekend. All right, Colin Webb. I think I saw on Twitter, I think it was Colin Webb that you said you believe is underrated.
Yeah, I think Colin Webb's, fairly underrated by the services. Not saying he should be a high 4-star or some big-time blue-chip guy. I just think he's a little underrated. I think he's another guy that projects well onto the way Clemson likes to use their safeties. And kind of like I said with Mike Reed, I know Mickey Conn, I know he doesn't get the same respect inside the fan base that Mike Reed does, but I think he's done a phenomenal job with the safeties over the past couple of years. Just R.J. Mickens, Andrew Makuba, Jalen Phillips. The way those guys have developed under Mickey Conn, remarkable. He's another guy that kind of gets the benefit of the doubt with me right now. If Mickey Conn likes him, I like him too.
He plays in that lower level division in Florida, so I think that comes with the territory playing that. But he looks like a man among boys down there.
Yeah, it's hard to get a good read on him, watching the film and stuff. I like I said, I think he's another guy that kind of – I'm not mistaken how much the difference is between the recruiting services, or I can't remember. My memory's telling me that he was another guy they were kind of split on. But I know it was low across the board.
JP Priester, allclemson.com. Before we let you go, JP, if I was a good host, I would have brought these two guys up about 5 minutes ago when we were talking about tight ends, Olsen, Pat Henry, and Marcus Dixon. 2 tight ends. Lost Reed McKeska, but when I went and checked, at least under 247, both of these guys are slightly ahead of McKeska. They're all right in the same 20 to 25 ballpark, 27, something like that. But both of these tight ends are actually higher than McKeska. So Clemson pulled it out after losing the McKeska commitment. They now have 2 tight ends in the fold. What's your take on these 2 guys?
These are other 2 guys that I think have high ceilings. I like the potential of both these players, especially Henry. His recruitment kind of took off late. Just look at the offers, man. Most of the big schools offered this kid, and to me, that speaks volumes. I got asked a couple weeks ago or last week one day if I thought these 2 guys were better or either one of them were better than McKeska, and that's hard to answer. I think they're different than McKeska. He seems to be like a little bit more a physical tight end, a blocking tight end right now. That's kind of how to use him in high school right now. The other two guys, Henry and Dixon, are more suited for pass catching right now. Probably have to develop their blocking skills once they get to the collegiate level. Especially Dixon, he's played a lot of receiver at high school, not done a lot of interior blocking. So that'll be something that'll be a skill he has to hone once he gets to college.
All right, JP, we appreciate you coming on, man. We can't tell you, I reached out about 3 minutes before we went live, and you agreed to come on. Little did I know you were in the middle of a show when I reached out to you. So Casey pulled you up on the phone. So we sincerely appreciate you coming on and spending a few minutes, or a lot of minutes with us, informing us about these recruits. Can't tell you how much we appreciate you from day to day, man. We really sincerely appreciate you. AllClemson.com, Jason Priester.
I always enjoy coming on here, man. Yeah, y'all make it fun. And when I do those things on Wednesday nights, if I do them at 7, I always make sure I'm done at 7:30 and try to send them your way.
Thanks, sir.
It, Thank you.
We heard that. Appreciate it. Have a good night. Get some rest.
Got to.
All right. JP Priester, allclemson.com.
The best.
Boy, Casey.
The best.
I feel more informed than I was 46 minutes and 39 seconds ago.
He just knows his stuff, and he's just so forthcoming with it, and he's so generous with his time with us. And quite honestly, when we have nothing, I could have talked about him, but he knows these players. I try to follow recruiting, but that whole job thing gets in the way most of the time. So we get excited when you see a 4-star, but I haven't watched Burley. I haven't watched his film, so it's awesome to get somebody that has, and somebody that's seen him on a field and at camps and things, and talk to him, and it's refreshing. It's great.
Well, the whole job thing, and that little Casey that was.
He takes up some time too. Yeah.
The most important thing, by the way, Jared Clark says probably will be a 3-year starter. He's a man.
I love it. Toriano Pride, St. Louis, I believe, Missouri. Yeah. He's Missouri. I love it. I love him. I have watched his film, and I'm very excited about Toriano Pride, and we appreciate you, Jared.
Hip swivel? How's his hip swivel?
Oh, it's intense.
Elite hip swivel.
Yeah.
Oh boy, Casey.
Key to quick first step, Marty.
Does he run downhill?
I could cliche the heck out of this kid if you want.
Oh well, I don't know how we topped what JP did, just the two of us. So I think we need to wrap it up.
We're done.
41 comments tonight, most of them about recruiting. It was great. This is kind of what we envisioned this show to be tonight, right? Getting information about the recruits, getting it out to the people. JP Priester, allclemson.com. Like I said, when I write something about a recruit on Rubbing the Rock, it almost always includes something from JP in there because of what you heard tonight, if you're still listening out there. So much appreciation to JP. Casey, tell the people thank you, and let's hit the road.
Yeah, thanks again to JP Priester, allclemson.com. Definitely check him out. Thanks to everyone that is in our Seldom Used Reserve College Football Discussion Facebook group. I'm sure once football season starts, we'll get going again, especially Nelson Wilhite for all his help, John Chancey for being a good all-around guy, and his writing on rubbingtherock.com. Uncle John McGee, as always, Sluggo Podcast, and each and every one of you who listens, likes, shares, and contributes. Oh, yeah, or participates. On behalf of Marty, Seldom Used Reserve Coleman, I am Casey the Beef Cregan. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you next week. Maybe not. On Sluggo.
We'll figure it out.
I think we're done.
Maybe.